All right, let's dive into something pretty profound today. We're going to explore the philosophy of a man named Gabriel de Herrera. Now, this is a worldview that's really unique. It was born from direct observation in places most of us will, thankfully, never see. And what's wild is how much of it seems to line up with what modern science is now discovering.
Same pattern, different costume. This one sentence, it's the key to everything. De Ferreira's big idea is that the basic patterns of how things work repeat themselves absolutely everywhere. We're talking from the tiniest subatomic particle to a massive galaxy, and yeah, even inside our own lives. Our job is just to learn how to see past the costume.
So I know this sounds like a weird riddle, right? A jail cell, a roof, an atom, what could they possibly have in common? Well, this is the journey we're about to take. We're going to zoom way in and way out, looking at things on completely different scales, to see how they might just be different versions of the exact same underlying logic. So, where do we even begin with a concept this big? Well, we start with the absolute basics, the very fabric of reality itself. De Herrera suggests we need to completely rethink what space and matter and even being an object really means.
Now this right here, this idea flips everything you think you know on its head. We feel solid, right? We feel separate from the air around us. But de Herrera says that's just an illusion. We aren't in the universe. We are a temporary shape that the universe is making.
So he gives this universal field a name, the living liquid. The best way to think about it is like a giant ocean. Everything you can imagine, you, me, the stars, this planet, is just a wave or a ripple or a current in this one single substance. We're all made of the same water, we're just moving in different ways and at different speeds.
Okay, so you might be asking, if everything is just one big liquid, then how are there separate things? And that's a great question. The answer lies in this concept of the vortex. A vortex is a pattern, like a whirlpool, that holds its shape for a little while. It looks like a separate object, but it's not. It's just the flow of the river passing through a specific shape.
And this is where the whirlpool analogy just clicks. Think about it. A whirlpool in a river has a clear shape. You can point to it, but you can't just scoop it out of the river, can you? It only exists because of the river flowing through it. De Herrera's argument is that we are exactly the same. We are a stable pattern, but we are completely inseparable from the cosmic flow all around us.
Okay, so we've covered the pattern in space, but what about the pattern in time? According to this philosophy, time isn't some universal tick-tock that's the same for everyone. Nope, it's all relative to the internal speed, the internal rhythm of the thing observing it.
And this is the core idea. The fundamental pattern of existence is happening everywhere. An atom is just running through its cycle at an unbelievable speed. A galaxy is doing the same thing, but incredibly slowly. The underlying process, the pattern, is identical. The only thing changing is the tempo.
And you know what's wild? Science actually backs this up in some really cool ways. We know that animals with faster metabolisms, like a common housefly, actually see the world in slow motion compared to us. They process way more information per second. And it gets even crazier. Research has shown that even for us, our perception of time literally stretches and shrinks with every single heartbeat. Our bodies have their own built-in clock speeds. The writer Terence McKenna put it perfectly. Time is just a measure of how much change you can cram into a single second. Our brains are running at, let's say, 100 cycles per second. A computer is running at 1 billion cycles per second. If you could somehow be inside that computer, 10 minutes of our time would feel like an absolute eternity. It all comes down to the clock speed.
All right, I hope you're ready, because this next part is where things get really mind-bending. So, wait a minute. If reality is this living liquid flowing at these insane speeds, why does my desk feel solid? Why do I feel solid? How does all of that frantic motion create this feeling of complete stillness?
That question is actually the whole key. And the answer, at least within de Herrera's framework, is an idea we can call the quantum domino effect. It's all about how these unbelievably fast, tiny little events add up to create the stable, solid world that we all experience.
So let's break this down. First, you've got the spin. At the tiniest quantum level, things are cycling, or falling over like dominoes, at a speed we can't even imagine. Then you get accumulation. These super-fast cycles start to cluster together, forming atoms, then molecules, then you. And here's the illusion, the magic trick. The combined speed of all these little dominoes is so incredibly fast that it creates a stable structure. Think of a spinning top. When it's spinning its fastest, it looks like it's perfectly still. And the result? We perceive a solid world and a solid self, all born from incredible speed.
Which brings us to this powerful conclusion. We aren't solid in the way we think, we are a standing wave. We're not a thing, we're an event. We're a process. We're a stable, persistent shape that's created by an unbelievable number of high-speed cycles, all held together in this perfect, delicate balance. And just to give you a little perspective on our perception, get this. Our eyes take in about 10 million bits of information every single second. But our conscious mind, we only process about 39 bits per second of spoken language. This ties right back to what D'Hara said. The signal is there, our band is narrow. The universe is basically shouting, and we're only hearing a tiny whisper.
Okay, so this is all really fascinating, cosmic stuff. But what's the point? How does thinking of ourselves as a standing wave actually help us in, our real lives? Well, this is where the philosophy comes crashing down to earth and gets incredibly practical.
And this insight comes directly from D'Hara's own life experiences. He says that when you see someone who's trapped in a really destructive cycle, you're not looking at a bad person. You're looking at what was once a healthy pattern that just got bent or broken somewhere along the way. He calls it a crooked loop.
So what is a crooked loop? Think of it like a computer program with a bug in it. It's a feedback mechanism that's gotten distorted, maybe because of trauma or just not getting the right support early on. And that pattern just keeps running over and over, producing the same negative result because the underlying bend in the code was never fixed. This totally reframes the issue from being a moral problem to a systems problem.
And D'Hara takes this idea and scales it up to our big institutions. A healthy system, he says, is like our immune system. It identifies a problem, solves it, and then it goes away. It stands down. But a system that makes a profit from the very problem it's supposed to solve, well, its incentive is totally different. It will never truly solve the problem, because its own survival depends on that problem existing. It just manages it, and in doing so, often reinforces those very same crooked loops.
So what's the fix? Well, here's the key. You can't punish a loop straight. That's like trying to fix a bent wheel by hitting it with a hammer. You're probably just going to make it worse. The real solution is to help that person trace their own pattern, their own loop, all the way back to the beginning. Find that exact spot where it got bent, and then support them while they do the hard internal work to straighten it out themselves.
And that really brings this whole idea right back home to us. If D'Hara is right, if these same patterns really do echo from atoms to people to entire societies, then this way of looking at things applies to our own lives too. It's an invitation to look at ourselves not with judgment, but with a kind of compassionate curiosity, and to ask, where's the crooked loop in my life? Where's the pattern that isn't serving me? And how can I start the work of straightening it, not from a place of blame, but from a place of real understanding?